We have Tushar now. He's going to present on comprehensive approach to prevent data exfiltration with Microsoft Purview data loss prevention. Yeah, over to you, Tushar. Meeting has been started. Yeah. Sorry, recording
Perfect.
has been
Thank you
started.
so
Yeah,
much,
thank you.
Vijay. Yeah. So, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, from whatever time zone you have joined in, and thank you so much for joining the session. Today we have a really like fun-packed sessions, and I was following all the sessions previously as well. It's like so much of purview content that we can see, and what all you can do with this particular tool that you have at the moment. So I'm just going to add a little bit more into the knowledge that we have gained so far. Before we start, I just want to have a quick reminder of this one, that we are going to have a quiz at the end of the overall sessions, and basically I'm going to be there as well. So you have a chance to win really nice prizes, and also like get to see really nice questions that will help you out in your purview journey as well. So don't miss the chance to join the quiz that we have at the end. Also, we are supporting a really good cause. So if you want to be part of that good cause, you can donate with this particular QR code that we have, or you can go on the specific link that we have there. Uh, Anything that you can do, that will be a great help. Now, moving along. So today's session, I didn't count the sessions numbers, so that's why it says session one. But basically, we are going to talk about purview data loss protection. We have heard about it in bits and pieces in previous sessions. We have got a quick overview of it. Uh, but we are going to do a quick deep dive and look at what all options we have and what all we can do with purview data loss protection. For for starters, I'll introduce myself. Some of you might know me from my earlier sessions, but my name is Tushar Kumar. I am a cloud security lead in Kodak, Ireland at the moment. I have been uh, sharing knowledge from past almost 10 years now, and I mainly work for security and Azure side. So you'll find me in most of the sessions talking about Azure security and most of the fun stuff. So moving along, we have a quick scenario, and I heard Anders talking about Peter. And funny thing is, Peter is going to come back again within this session. So what we are talking about, what happened to Contoso? So basically, it's an imaginary organization for at the moment. So, and but that can be your organization as well, and that can be anywhere, any organization in the world. So this scenario, what I call it is, there is nothing to stop Bob. So just to give a background of this one, we start with meet Bob. So basically, Bob, he's a person who works in Contoso. Bob is a very big golf fan, and he's like regular to the golf courses. He has a lot of golf buddies, and one of his buddy is Peter. But there is an instance one day, Peter asks Bob, "Oh, you are working on so and so project in your company, and can you share a file?" And we usually tend to do that, and in different scenarios. Okay, if someone is working on something, and if you know, you might ask that person, okay, can you share that presentation with me? What I'll do is I'll just change the things, I'll present it to my organization, or I'll make something else. Or maybe Peter has some alternate motives of those documents, like getting people's social security number, people's like GST numbers, or those kind of things, or any PII fields that we see, right? The personal identification numbers. So Peter acts on that. He asks his friend Bob, can you share a file which has all the credit card details, or maybe which has all the social security numbers? Just because Peter is Bob's very best friend, he's the best buddy, and Bob don't want to lose a good golf buddy there just because he loves golf. What he does is he goes to his organization, he opens his laptop, he sends the document, over to Peter. Now, fast forward to this. Here we don't have anything to stop Bob. So Contoso has no measures at the moment. Contoso has no policies. Contoso has no uh, applications that can stop Bob from sharing all those files to Peter. Now, if Contoso says, okay, this is the file, you cannot share with anyone, and let's say we just rely on encryption, Anders just mentioned, right, which is just going to be within a set of people which you have given access to, which who has the encryption key, they can see that files. But what if the file is used for a bit more wider audience, and going ahead it will be like a bit of a challenging job to encrypt and provide it to all the users. But on top of that, even though the files are encrypted, we can put another layer on top of that, which is going to be protecting those files not to be shared or be in the controlled environment always. So basically, Microsoft Purview DLP can. So earlier, there was nothing to stop Bob because there was no policies in place. So he can share anything, any personal identification data. He can share anything related to the company, any company financial data, to back to his buddy Peter. But once you have the purview, once you have the purview DLP implemented within your organization, once it is fine tuned to the purpose, Bob will not be able to share anything across to his buddies unless or until it is approved, or unless or until your compliance manager says yes to it, or unless or until he has a proper business justification around it. So let's talk about Microsoft Purview DLP a bit. So before starting, we will have a quick background of Purview DLP. Okay. So before starting with any data loss prevention projects, right, what we do is we have to know the data, and that's where I was hearing all the speakers have mentioned this sometime in their sessions as well, that when you are implementing Purview, when you are implementing the policies, when you're implementing communication guidelines and all those things, you have to include your business. And the reason why you need to include your business is you need to understand what is your data. Let's say if I have a environment, and what I have done is I have put down a policies which is just securing credit card numbers, and your organization doesn't even deal with credit card numbers, it only have social security numbers, then those policies are not going to be effect in any place. Or maybe it's a financial organization and you have set it in such a way that people are you're blocking people from doing the day-to-day business continuity, their day-to-day task of sharing data across to their like, let's say Bob is sharing to someone else in the organization the same files, and we are blocking that because of our policies. So first thing is going to be know your data. Second thing is going to be protect your data, which is going to be, which you have a lot of options around it, putting the encryption, putting the access restriction, putting watermarks on your documents and all those things. So then that way you can protect your data, and then it comes the loss of data. So basically preventing the accidental oversharing of information. And when we say accidental oversharing, it's not always that Bob is some weak link to the company who is sharing the data outside the organization. It can be you, it can be me sharing a document which contains some data which is specifically related to someone's credit card, or which is related to someone's other like personal information. So you have to prevent the data loss. That's where the DLP comes into the picture. And along with that, you can have automated retention, you can have automated deletion of the records, and as well as if you follow GDPR and all, you can also get compliant to all the all the compliances, and specifically all the data subject rights. Whenever you have to respond to it, basically you will have a proper picture of governance in your data. Moving along, the solution overview, what we can see is basically the Purview DLP covers a comprehensive workloads at the moment. So if you look at it, it spans across your Exchange setup, your Office 365, your M365 environment, Teams, SharePoint, OneDrive, even non-Microsoft products like Box, Dropbox, Salesforce, and many other. The list is keep on growing in coming days as well. Also, you have support for your on-premises file shares and as well as non-M365 workloads, which is going to be spanned across multiple areas. So the support for Purview DLP is really wide at the moment. And also it is increasing every day by day. You have the best thing you have here is you can go up to the endpoint level itself. So what happened is during the pandemic time, everyone started working from home, and there was a lot of noise coming in terms of data protection for the remote devices. You don't have a proper governance on those, and you will not be able to you were not able to protect your data in the remote devices, which is not properly managed. So in that case, even Purview can help you out looking at your endpoints, reaching to till your endpoints, and anything that happens if someone tries to copy something over, if someone tries to just send it over to someone else or move the sensitive or protected data which is to unauthorized locations, it should be blocked, and it gets blocked with the Purview. So the best thing with the Purview DLP that you could get is it's a guided onboarding. So when you go on the Purview portal, which we are going to do in next couple of minutes, you will get a guided onboarding setups. So it's like every step there is going to be a heavy handholding from Microsoft side in terms of all the tutorials as well as uh, all this like small buttons that you can see that helps you out with what exactly is what exactly that button does and all those things. Also, there is a unified and flexible policy management. So if you want to enforce something specifically, you can enforce something. If you just want to do audit on something, you can do that as well. You can, if you want, like a few people have access in such a manner that, okay, if they have an approval, they can go ahead with that file sharing, or if they can provide a business justification and they can perform the action. It is heavily integrated with Purview information protection as well. So you get all the good things integrated with it as well. There is a unified alerting and remediation. So basically, you get one portal where you see all the alerts coming in, the Purview compliance portal where you can see everything, all the alerting and all the remediation actions that you can see. And on the end user side, it's quite customizable and as well as a really integrated end user experience with all the Office apps, all the Microsoft native apps, and as well as third party apps as well that we are going to see in coming couple of minutes. So if I start with easy onboarding, the first thing is it's going to be cloud native, and there is no additional infrastructure required. So if you're onboarding an endpoint, right, and the best thing is going to be you don't need any specific infrastructure for that. You don't need to deploy any sensor for this one. It is going to pick automatically as long as you have it onboarded with the Defender. It will keep on taking everything from that. uh, you are going to get all the out of the box analytics over there, and I'll not spend much of a time on the onboarding piece while we are going to see that in action as well. You get a unified console. So if you have visited Purview earlier, you might have seen Purview, the overall console. It gives you all the things like information protection, information governance, everything within a single unified pane, and you can just go into multiple sections and see whatever you want to see. There it is integrated with information protection. So basically you get all the sensitivity labels and or you get all the patterns and discover on, and the dictionary is already included within this, which basically helps you out in identifying what all is like data to be prevented, and what is going to be the priority of the data accordingly. So, and also it gives you the same capabilities as we used to get earlier with M365 stuff, right? So you are getting a unified alerting and remediation, which basically means that everything you can set alerts to specific email IDs, you can set alerts to specific uh, groups, and it will send you this, not just the information that something has happened, but also it gives you a good bit of details that will help you out in terms of triage. And also you can integrate it with your existing same. If there is any Sentinel fans over here, it's natively integrated with Sentinel. You can easily integrate it with Sentinel. And the end user, from the end user perspective, right, it is going to be a really seamless experience, because all the messages, all the user experience you can modify, and as well as you can like you can cater it according to level of your user's expertise. Okay. So we have already talked about this. I just talked a lot on this previous slide, so I'll just skip this one. So one question I always get asked from my customers, right? So onboarding is easy. So when we are talking about onboarding to Purview, it is quite easy. You can Purview DLP, you can go and deploy, you can put in new policies, you do the discovery of what all policies that you need, all those things, and then you go for the deployment. That's pretty much easy. What we are seeing at this moment, right? It's basically the scenarios where you are using a DLP solution from Symantec, you're using some different DLP solutions where you already have your policies deployed, where you have spent some time, where you have already did all those kind of discovery process, then you have created all those policies by investing a lot of time in that. And now what you are going to ask me, okay, Tushar, this is the thing. I already have this set up. I don't want to get rid of this. Even though if I want to get rid of this at this moment, right? I don't want my resources to do all those things again, go to the through the discovery process. If not discovery process, again, configuring all those policies. So Microsoft has launched a product itself, which is Purview DLP Migration Assistant, which is basically going to give you all those features. So what you can do is you can point it to your existing semantic, and it is going to extract all the policies. It will give you what all policies are supported and what all policies are not. And accordingly, what you can do is you can move things along, and you get like options to edit some things or make things in such a way that any policies which is breaking, you can fix that. So we are covered from a fresh deployment perspective as well. We are covered in terms of an existing DLP solution, and then we are looking to move that to Purview DLP. The next thing is when I said, and even when I say in this session's title as well, right? A comprehensive approach of data exfiltration. It's basically because when you look at the range of basically the locations that you can apply your policies on is quite wide. So basically, you have a bit limited over here, but I'll show you on the portal. It goes a little bit further. We have a few new options as well came in. So you have option to go for Exchange. You have options to go for SharePoint. You have options to go for OneDrive. You can go for multiple options as well. Teams, as well as your devices as well, which is your endpoints. So you can put your devices, Teams, on-premises shares, any third-party cloud services, and as well as it has support for uh, Microsoft Defender for Cloud Apps. So if you have Defender for Cloud Apps, you can integrate your cloud applications as well in terms of integrating those with the DLP functionalities. Also from the range of classifications and the range of finding out. So if I say it in the in an easy term, right, in terms of finding out what data to look for, you have a range of already defined compliance regulations, and as well as like commonly used things like GDPR, like your personal data in terms of your name and addresses, your credit card numbers, and all those things. You can do it automatically. You can easily find those out within the options. If you are not able to find something that you are specifically looking for, you can always go for a custom uh, you can always go for a custom template as well, and then you can define, okay, I need all those five things. Like if I take a classic example of it, I don't want anyone, my organization does a lot of work with storage accounts on Azure, and there is a shared access token that you can get, which is going to give you access to it. So my organization specifically have a custom policy which says anything related to SaaS tokens, it cannot be shared over Teams chat. So you can pick and choose. You can have multiple regulations. You can have multiple policies. You can have multiple items in the conditions as well in the same policy, just to make sure that if anything that is matching that policy, you block that, or either you alert someone that someone is trying to share these details, or someone is trying to make some changes within the environment. So yeah, and we talked about the alerting and triage basically. So if you, as you can see, you will get the full details of any kind of any kind of alerts that is being generated, like which location it happened, what was the time detected, who was the actor, and all those things that we'll see in a second as well on the portal as well. And from the user experience perspective, so what happens is at any point of time, the recommended browser is Edge. So if you're using Edge, you'll get it natively integrated within. So if anyone, let's say, if anyone tries to upload something to on Slack, and Slack is not a approved app for us, it will not go on Slack, and the user will get this notification over there. So if you can see, this item is protected. Same as you can give some policy tips on your document. So basically, this is whatever you are putting in the document, it is conflicting with your organization policy. You can just say override. Then when you say override, you have to provide a specific cause to it, that why it happened. So, and there is a couple of new things that came in, I'll say last month, and it's still in preview at this moment. So what you can do is you can provide, you can basically, while configuring your Purview DLP solution, you can integrate it with your Azure environment. And basically what happens is the Purview DLP uses the cognitive services, which provides the optical character recognition, the OCR functionality. So now, even though, let's say, if someone is not sending something in text, because people is are intended to adapt things, and they started doing like, okay, I'm not going to send the credit card number in text. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create it in Notepad, take a snip, and send it along to someone, and that beats the purpose, because you are still sharing the personal information, but what you are doing is you're sharing it in forms of pictures. But now with the new feature that we have got is, which is optical character recognition within DLP. Now you can even recognize, let's say, a credit card number being said, or whatever the policy, if the policy is there and you have the OCR enabled, it can read the images, and then it can give you a proper view of it. Okay, someone has shared some information, or maybe block it. Like as you can see on the screen, this message is blocked, and you cannot, like, just because they are sharing the credit card information. And the next one is the basically that's also launched in March this year only. So where you can do basically a justification what is going to be the justification. So let's say if you're sharing something which is blocked by the DLP policies, in that case, if the DLP is configured in such way, if the policy is configured in such way, then you can put in, okay, my manager has approved for this to sharing, and then you can override this. It will definitely generate an audit trail, and it can be revisited. So you can check the audit trail, who did what and why. So that's a good functionality that has came in specifically from endpoints perspective, right? Okay, before moving forward, what I'll do is, yeah, specifically from endpoint perspective and select sharing files perspective, I'll just show another thing is going to be if you're sharing any SharePoint folders to an external user which contains something that is not allowed by your organization. In that case, what will happen is it will give you the warning, it will block you from sharing those documents as well. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll just get out of this piece and we'll jump to the portal directly. Let me share my whole screen. Perfect. Okay, so before we move along, right, let's see what all options we have. So first thing first, whenever you are looking at Purview, the URL that is going to be your friend is compliance.microsoft.com. So you will be going to this particular URL, and uh, everything that you need for Purview, you'll find here. Uh, I hope the demo bots are with me. Okay, so within this section, you must have heard a lot of speakers within today's sessions talking about all of these areas around communication compliance, okay, around communication compliance, e-discovery, data lifecycle management, information protection, information barriers, insider risk management. So I'm not going to touch upon any of others. So I'll just stick to this, just so you can have the others uh, knowledge on the others areas. So basically you have this, and we have 5 options over here, which starts with the overview. So basically on the overview, you get a quick view of what all is there within your environment. And if I show you a demo environment, right, basically you will be able to see how the overview looks like in the actual environment. So in actual environment, when you see, it gives you what all things are detected, what all things you have in terms of. So right now the top activities that we have is 67 on OneDrive, 10 on SharePoint, 3 on Teams. So if you want to see what all activities you have a little activity explorer on the left hand side, which basically gives you all the details of what happened, who did what. And so this is basically me testing. So what happened here is, let's see. So there is a DLP rule matched. There is a user whose name is Adele, and she was trying to share credit card details to an external user. What happened is we blocked and notified the user and generated an alert. Okay. And basically, Adele was trying to share it to me, and definitely this guy thinks that I'm not a right person for this information. So they basically, the request got blocked, and also an alert got generated. So specific user or group, whoever is set up within this policy, got this alert, and as well as we have it here in our alerts. Okay. Same for the other things. There is another user. They did some changes on the SharePoint, which is an Excel. And if you see, this Excel is Contoso purchasing data, which is containing credit card numbers, and he tried to share that. So that document, if you see this document over here, sorry, yeah, I'll go back here. Sorry, this is the file path. I clicked on the wrong link. So if you see this document here, you will be able to see this document contains, oh, I don't have access to it. Anyway, so if you see this document contains a couple of credit card numbers. That's why it is being blocked. Now we are taking a like bottom up approach. What we are going to do is we are going to check why these are flagged. So basically, we have a policy in place here, which basically talks about block and external sharing of any credit card numbers. So what it says is, what I'll do is I'll quickly edit this one. So when you go on this and when you edit, it already has a name. When you're creating a new one, it will ask you for a name. You can give it a description. You can specifically select administrative unit. So let's say if you want to apply it to a specific set of users, then you can put it in basically an administrative unit. Otherwise, you can keep it for a full directory. Then comes the locations that we talked about. It's basically you have options to go for all these Exchange, Teams chat, Teams channels, on-premises repository, devices, and all. Then then you go for what is the DLP rules are going to be. So basically, if I edit this one, you will be able to see that this guy says with people, when the content is detected to be shared with people outside my organization, either you can make it inside your organization or you can add another condition here which says outside and inside as well, and then says what is what to look for. So basically sensitive information type is credit card number. Now you'll ask, what is the confidence over here? So basically confidence is, and in some messages you can say, okay, my credit card number is this, or maybe it can be just a 16 digit number, 16 or 18 digit number, which might look like a credit card. So basically it has credit card numbers and it has of like intelligence inbuilt, which is going to detect all these kind of credit card or debit card numbers. And basically the confidence rating means if it 100% says if there is a keyword, there is a CVV, there is expiration date, and all those things are there, then only flag it. Otherwise, low priority, low confidence is something that, okay, if it looks like a credit card number, then flag it. So you have multiple levels. It's totally based on what kind of regular expressions that they have put. They have keyword lists over here. So these are basically that's the identifier for a credit card number specifically here. Then comes what is going to be the action. If you want to do block, if you want to restrict it for anyone outside your organization, what do you want to do with that particular thing? Then comes user notification. So who is going to be notified? If the user is going to be notified, what is going to be the format of it? So let's say you can send it with standard. So let's say I tried to share my credit card number and I got blocked. So what is going to be the notification? So either I can get the standard one, what Microsoft sent, or you can customize it for your own, the person who has sent, shared, or modified the content. You can customize, and then you can customize the email text. Okay, you're saying you may say you are fired, you have sent something to someone. Hopefully this should not be case, but you can make in your organization what is going to be subject that something bad happened or something like that, just to make sure the person who gets that information, who gets that message on his laptop saying that, okay, you cannot send these details, gets more context to it in a following email. Also, you can set up the user overrides, as I mentioned. So you mentioned require, you can mention require business justification. You can override automatically if it is, and you can option is if they report a false positive that this is not a credit card number, they can report there can be a 16 digit some product code or something, but that might get flagged as a credit card number. So these kind of things, if you keep this guy checked, they can report it as a false positive, so you have the audit trail for that, and then they can bypass that process as well. From the incident reporting perspective, because we want to know what happened, if there is anyone got blocked, and we are just looking at it, and we don't have anything set up like override or anything. We want to know who was trying to send and what they were trying to send, and if it was a high volume of data. In that case, if we don't want to be bothered in one document or two documents, so what we can do is we can set the volume. So if someone tries to, let's say volume is more than 500 MB or something like that, because on documents 500 MB is going to be way too much. So in that case, we can say if someone is trying to send out 500 MBs, then we want to be notified. That's the one thing. Either you can do the count of the instance, because every file will create its own instance, so it's going to be if 15. If you have 15 matches, then you send out alert to specific person. So it's going to be, you can add or remove person, you can add specific groups, like let's say my security team needs to be identified. So you just search for security. Or do I have a security group? No, I have site admins only. So yeah, so you go for the site admins only. So you can notify your site admins that something has happened. This user is trying to send out bulk information to someone, or maybe this user is trying to transfer some data to a USB thumb drive, which is not permitted. And then you just save this, and you will be good to go with this one. it the next step on this one is going to be, it asks specifically for what kind of mode that you want to start with. Always the recommended is going to be test it out first and then turn it on. Because the thing is, when you start putting restrictions, right, you'll see a lot of noise from business, because it may or may not interrupt in your normal business process, in your normal business continuity. So you don't want a lot of noise coming from your C level or your business users saying that, okay, I cannot do my day-to-day job because of this feature what you have enabled. So just test it out first, do it for just get all those things tested, and then go ahead for specific policy. The other thing is, once you have applied policies, right, and the specific feature that we are talking about within this session is around the endpoints. So basically, when you apply a policy, we have seen we can apply it, we can take the sources, we can take the locations as endpoints as well. So within endpoints, you can do a lot of settings which will help you out. And as I mentioned, it is not a sensor based. You are not deploying any sensor on the endpoints to get any data. So basically, it's just a onboarding. Just a onboarding process, and it connects to your Defender for endpoint. So basically, if you see on the settings over here, right, you will find an option. Okay, not here. So there are two versions at this moment that you can see. I have a limited access on this tenant. That's why you're seeing less options. So I'll just switch here. If you go on the settings, you will be able to see a thing called device manager. Sorry, device onboarding. So within device onboarding, right, what you can do is you can onboard and offboard devices within this. And the onboarding procedure is quite easy. And you have both the options. So whoever has this worry that my organization use Mac, you don't have to worry a lot. There's still going to be a bit of worries, because the level of compatibility Purview DLP have at this point with Windows operating system. It doesn't have with uh, Mac. But in terms of deploying and onboarding process, you have all the deployment methods. You can either go with group policies, you can go with endpoint configuration manager, your usual SCCM, or you can go with your Intune. You can, and even for VDI, Citrix, or any kind of Microsoft Virtual Desktop environment, right? There is a non-persistent desktop onboarding script as well that you can use, that you can configure within your environment, and it will automatically onboard the device on the boot up.
Sorry to interrupt, Tushar. 5 more minutes. Yeah.
Mhm. Sure. Okay, and what you can do is you can download the package and you can deploy it within your system, and it will automatically start coming up, and it will automatically start using your DLP policies, and you'll start seeing the effect of it, and it will start blocking things over. So yeah, going back to the demo tenant again. So on the DLP side, specifically on endpoints, right? So you have multiple settings and multiple options that you can do. The first thing is, a lot of customers get worried about, okay, if I'm doing this, uh, my users are going to exhaust their data plan, or they're going to have some bandwidth issues or something like that. So you can actually restrict, okay, this is this amount of, in 24 hours it's going to be more, not more than 500 MBs or something like that. You can limit the bandwidth, so just so it doesn't get into scanning into multiple files or huge files. You can also have a couple of paths excluded within Windows systems, so you will have so those paths are not getting scanned. You can have these exclusions for Mac as well. You can also restrict apps specifically, like let's say you want to restrict Chrome, or you want to restrict, so what it means is, if you have a PDF document and you want to open in Chrome, you will not be able to open that, because that's a restricted document which contains some personal information or credit card details. You will not be able to open it Chrome. You can restrict those applications. You cannot, in this case, the way it is configured right now, you cannot open it in Notepad. You cannot open it into DOS. Also, you can have, like, you can block Bluetooth devices. You cannot share it over Bluetooth. You can block specific domains or unallowed browsers, in terms of, like, let's say I just want to allow here, which is going to be, I just want to allow OneDrive, let's say. So only OneDrive will be allowed to to upload anything. That is the safe domain that we have, where we are going to upload anything. So let's say if your organization is using SharePoint, you can just allow your SharePoint link as a allowed service domains. So people will be able to upload things in your SharePoint site only, and not in any other way. They're not in on any other box or OneDrive or other places. Similarly, we have options to restrict on printer groups, so the document doesn't get printed. You have options to specifically allow us, let's say, or you just want SanDisk USB devices. Your organization just allows SanDisk USB devices to be used. So then you can put in, okay, I just want this. This is going to be the friendly name of the product. This is the USB product ID, and those IDs, only those IDs will be allowed to copy data, copy those sensitive information over. If you have any network shares, if you have any, let's say you have any file shares external, which you want to connect, in that case, you can just have the exclusion of those. So at any point of time, let's say if someone wants to copy to those external sources, they will be able to copy to those network file shares. And again, for VPN, there is a specific setting for VPN. So whenever you are connected to organization's VPN, right, and you want to have a different restrictions, then you can configure the VPN addresses, and then you can get different VPN configurations as well. Yeah, before concluding, a last piece, as I mentioned, the Mac OS users, the organization which is using Mac OS at the moment, right? You just need to have a quick look here. if everything that you need at the moment from protection perspective is there or not within the portfolio, because there is a lot of services, there is a lot of features that that you have seen today is not available or in preview at the moment for Mac. So just go through this link before we go ahead with the deployment of Purview DLP. Okay. And I'm not leaving you here. So just for this one, there is a link called aka.ms DLP interactive guide. I'll just open that quickly. So if you are starting with DLP, if you are uh, looking at learning more about it, you have this link which gives you a interactive guide, which is basically going to give you, which is going to ask you click on each and everything, and then you can follow along that what exactly it does, how it works, and all those things. So that will actually help you out in learning and as well as understanding the Purview DLP more. So you cannot say, Tushar, you left me whatever you learned that day, and we are there only. You have the links. You can get into this, and you can like keep on with your Purview journey. Yeah, so with this, thank you so much. And I have a couple of links over here for you. This is my LinkedIn, this is my Twitter, and that's my website where you can see my profiles and all my socials. So you can connect with me. And if you have any questions, if you are in process of enrolling, or if you're looking for enrolling into Purview DLP, you can reach out to me. I'll help you out in whatever way possible. Perfect. Back to you, Vijay.
Uh, Thank you so much, Tushar, for a great session. Thank you so much.